Hello there, a very good morning and welcome to another edition of the Talk of the Town. Joining us this morning is foreign policy analyst and member of the Samagi Janabalawegya Working Committee, Kusum Wijetilleke. A very good morning, Kusum, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Charlene. Thanks for having me. Good morning to everyone.
Kusum, now with Sri Lanka facing such a massive crisis at this moment, our image internationally has also been damaged with everything that happened in the past, be it from the side of the people, people's response to their voices not being heard, to the government's response to what the people did. Sri Lanka's image as a whole has really suffered a blow, and it's very important that Sri Lanka is properly represented at international forums so that we can build our image, because our image matters when we deal with the international community. Let's speak a little bit about the United Nations General Assembly and the one incident out of everything that caught the biggest attention here in Sri Lanka: the presence of the foreign minister's son at the United Nations General Assembly sessions. Now, promptly after this gave rise to controversy here in Sri Lanka, the foreign minister released a statement saying that he was only there to help me in research and writing. He volunteered, not a single rupee was spent on him. To an average person, that sounds like a pretty fair argument. I mean, if the people are not paying, if it's his son, he trusts him, he gets free work done, volunteer. What would you say if someone said, well, it's not that bad?
I think, well, first of all, you started by saying that it's very important that Sri Lanka represents itself at these international events with a very strong delegation. So maybe you're suggesting that the presence of, for example, Mr. Rohit Abegunawardene at this delegation isn't making our delegation very strong. When you come to Mr. Sabri's son, I think, look, it's something that's been happening. We know especially so many stories of politicians' children and relatives that are ended up in high commissions around the world. We know about nepotism in Sri Lanka. In fact, it's something that's happening around the world. I don't want to be frivolous about this. I think it's completely wrong. I don't think there's any justification. If you're saying that Sri Lanka needs to bring in the foreign minister's son because we don't have enough analysts or researchers, I'm sorry, that's just not acceptable. I think if you're going to the United Nations General Assembly, you will take all the people you need. And surely the Sri Lankan government can afford a couple of researchers if they can afford the delegation that actually went there. And the other thing is that the fact of the matter is that Mr. Sabri's son being there is a problem. It's wrong, but it shouldn't be the main story in what's been happening at the United Nations General Assembly. I think our president's there, and the media is covering it in a sort of sensationalist manner. I saw some news outlets, saying that the president has received praise and acclaim and playing up all these photo ops. I mean, he's literally standing next to a world leader, and they say that they had a fruitful meeting. So these are the kinds of misrepresentations that I think don't serve anyone. It doesn't serve the people of Sri Lanka. It doesn't serve the Sri Lankan government. And certainly these foreign dignitaries that are just standing around for a photo opportunity, they'll read these and they'll say, well, we didn't really have any discussion of that sort. So why are they saying this? So it doesn't paint us in a good picture. And you add to that the son of the foreign minister, you add to that the rest of the delegation that went, and I don't think it paints a very good picture of Sri Lanka's efforts at the United Nations General Assembly.
Kusum, in a nutshell, what did you think about the president's address to the United Nations General Assembly?
I think given the global context, given the power games that are going on, given Sri Lanka's, the expanding Chinese footprint in Sri Lanka, the tensions we've had with India, with Japan, with the United States, I think this would have been an amazing opportunity for Sri Lanka to reiterate its position, reiterate the fact that we are in the Indian Ocean, that there is a Sea of Sri Lanka, that we are in India's sphere of influence. I think it would have been a great opportunity for us to sort of paint ourselves in a different in a different way, instead of being a little bit. The president was very critical about several things. He was critical about the AUKUS military alliance. He was critical about the Indo-Pacific framework. He was critical about the China-US geopolitical rivalry, asking why are you dragging Sri Lanka into this. I mean, it's a very childish way of approaching this, right? Everyone who's ever read anything to do with foreign policy understands why Sri Lanka is getting pulled into this. And there's enough of literature that the president himself would have read. So he needed to go there and be a little more prepared than he was, I'm afraid.
Thank you very much, Kusum. Of course, only time will tell as to how Sri Lanka fared internationally. We're facing a lot of pressure. What we need right now is a lot of help from the international community for the mess that we have created for ourselves. Thank you very much, Kusum, for joining us on our
Thanks,
program.
Charlene. Thank you for having me.
And thank you very much to all our listeners out there. It's back to the Morning Fix on Yes 101.